Well, Sphere is this incredible, it's a giant sphere in Las Vegas, just off the Strip, and it is a multifunctional venue. It's got LED on the outside, it's got LED on the inside, so it's a giant screen inside and out. The Wizard of Oz was only shot 4:3, and amazingly, an innovative masterpiece for its time because it went famously from black and white to color, famous Technicolor. And so this was another evolution of that kind of technology where they went, okay, well, how are we going to up-res it? They did a partnership with Google. The nice thing about experience design, it is gaining traction. We've seen that in developments like the Canary Wharf group are doing amazing work in really evolving that estate over time. It's taken, a long time to get to the place where it is now. But, just this season alone, they're opening up swimming.
How do you go about changing a building once it's already up? When you talk about total experience design, what does that actually mean?
Architects are fantastic, and specialist consultants, look at certain facets of the built environment. I think what we've seen firsthand is technology. Certain types of technology is often thought of later on in the process. Content is often thought of later, whether it be programming or digital signage or other aspects of content, certainly if you've got a big screen or a big component like that. And then brand and digital, whether it be ticketing or whether it be the experience technology platforms are often sort of looked at later on. So what we've looked at is created a model that total experience design, which really in-depth looks at those kind of dimensions in detail and considers them strategically up front. So, before in that pre-planning phase where you're looking at all of those facets, all of those dimensions to consider, well, what is that experience? What is that experience for people? And the key thing that shoots through all of total experience design is human-centered design and really understand, who is this being designed for? And of course, all those other parties are thinking about that and looking at that. But it's a relatively newish thing, really doubling down on the people aspect of it. And this is designing for increasingly, neurodiverse or older generations, younger generations, male, female, and really considering those end-to-end journeys. So really from the sort of moment of even thinking about coming to somewhere, that end-to-end journey, what that ticketing experience might be. Is there a ticketing experience all the way through to sort of, leaving the space or the place or the environment? So that's why the total is in there. It really is looking at that whole piece, starting off with a human-centered experience design. And then one of the pieces that we are making is this experience master plan that kind of fits over the whole top and can be this sort of guiding brief, this guiding plan. There are master plans in placemaking, there are master plans in architecture as well, but it's this experience master plan that considers all those dimensions. And then the final one we consider as well is time, because often these spaces, especially these adaptable spaces, are very busy on a Saturday or a Sunday or on a Friday night, or where their core experience has been designed for, but they're empty on a Monday or a Tuesday. And so it's to look at the dimension of time as that final component and see, what that means for the experience, what other considerations need to be made in the design process.
Happy 250th birthday, America! All of you out there, make a wish. Come inside. Maybe I'll grant it.
So you mentioned Sphere. Tell me exactly what that is and how it works.
Well, Sphere is this incredible, it's a giant sphere in Las Vegas, just off the Strip, and it is a multifunctional venue. It's got LED on the outside, it's got LED on the inside, so it's a giant screen inside and out. And the first things that happened into it were a live concert experience. So U2 were the first band that played there. Disguise had an amazing relationship with U2 for many, many years.
And that's the company that runs Sphere.
Yeah, well, they provide the visual technology that kind of enables the content to go on the screen. So they came in with U2, and they are at the company I used to work for, and very synonymous with live events and live production. And so it's a heck of a screen to power, a lot of pixels, but it really does. You kind of have to be there to really get the sense of scale is amazing. You're in there. They did some wonderful visual tricks at the beginning of U2 where there's a bird flying around in there, and you're like, oh god, someone's there's a bird trapped in there. That's not so good. And it's like, it's not a real bird, it's just flying around, but it's so cavernous that you kind of look up, and then there's a sort of Parthenon style like hole in the top. And then the helicopter flies over, and that's the band arriving. But obviously, there's no hole in the top; it's all on screen. So wonderful sort of plays around, and that was done by Treatment Studio, which is a UK content company done by a chap called Willie Walsh, who's the creative director for U2. And so the content was amazing. Another artist, Ez Devlin, contributed to it as well. And so this mix of visuals. I mean, that's the challenge. You have to produce a lot of additional things. Normally, you often go to a concert, and they may show the picture of the band members on screen. Now, this is a full visual experience for the whole time. At one point, you see Las Vegas deconstructing and returning to the desert. I mean, it's really mind-blowing and quite special. So you've got the concert experience, but if you're in Vegas and you see this giant thing, you're like, I want to go to Sphere, but I can't get into the concert. They also commissioned content, films to be made in it. The first one was called Postcards from the Edge. And then the second one they did was not a new piece of IP. It was The Wizard of Oz. And very much reformatted, because the experience, it's not actually inside the screen, is not full dome. It's about 2/3. But The Wizard of Oz was only shot 4:3, and amazingly, an innovative masterpiece for its time, because it went famously from black and white to color, famous Technicolor. And so this was another evolution of that kind of technology, where they went, okay, well, how are we going to up-res it? They did a partnership with Google, but also a partnership with Magnopus, wonderful effects and experience tech company. And they filled in, but not so much just filled in. I mean, you have people walking out of frame, and so, they had to kind of work out, well, what happens where do they go? Like, who else is standing there? And they did an amazing job. And it wasn't just, okay, sit back and watch the film. When the house lifts off and it's the twister, the hole, there's turbines and wind effects. And so it's this amazing kind of apples drop from the ceiling when that happens in the film. So it's this amazing, to coin a phrase, 4D kind of experience. And, people are absolutely loving it. They're going to go in there and having this wonderful experience.
And if people want to know more about that, we have actually had a discussion with Sol of Magnum Opus, who was part of the team designing that.
Very much.
And do you think that this kind of thing is now non-negotiable when it comes to designing a new space? And is that driven mostly by commercial worries?
Yeah, I think the commercial piece is a major one. It's getting harder and harder to fund some of these things, and developers need to look at all their costs. I think that the nice thing about experience design, it is gaining traction. We've seen that in developments like the Canary Wharf group are doing amazing work in really evolving that estate over time. It's taken a long time to get to the place where it is now. But just this season alone, they're opening up swimming in there. You can go open water swimming. They've made an amazing new decking area, and so they have a lead CX person, and so they're really realizing the need for it. And that's been a battle for a little bit. That has been sort of, is experience a kind of nice to have, or what's the kind of commercial return? And I think those models are beginning to become much clearer. And in some of these developments, it's stipulated, the community aspect, the, adaptability, the making it sure it's open public realm, and all of those things are becoming, absolutely kind of core. And so, we're seeing that, it's being taken much more seriously and understood as a real return. And certainly if you really nail the adaptability and the multi-use, there's a genuine commercial return, because you're maximizing your space and your spend, because you are doing something with it on a Monday and a Tuesday, as opposed to just the sort of the core anchor needs.
And are you seeing more demand from any particular sector?
Well, I think there's this term, the experience economy, which is interesting. Not a new one. It was coined, I think, way back when in the 1990s. But that's things like tourism or hospitality or entertainment, arts, culture, sports. So places where people are having a visitor experience or an audience experience. So those sectors are sort of seeing that: cultural infrastructure, arts, entertainment. I mean, all of it was driven a little bit initially by visitor attractions. The sort of Joe Pine, who coined the experience economy term, sort of it came from Disney and that amazing experience. So instead of just selling commodities and goods, it's like, well, what's that experience that makes people really value that time that they've spent somewhere or do somewhere? So we're seeing, real interest in the cultural infrastructure piece, sports, as I mentioned, and tourism and travel, but also retail. Retail like Westfield on the park here are bringing in amazing new experiences. They're bringing in a new immersive experience called Phantom Peak here, and on their other site, they're also bringing in one called Wake the Tiger. So really creating these sort of multi-use spaces. And then underpinning all of the experience economy is built environment, which is a sort of a term that's growing more interest and focus to really pull in all those different elements, because that's what's underpinning it all, the built environment and the physical spaces and places.
Where's a place that's really nailed that brief?
Good question. Well, we're sitting in one pretty well, I'd say. I think other ones more central London. I think 180 Quarter, now it's called, is an interesting one. That started off as a building that was going to be knocked down. It was sort of earmarked.
This is on the Strand.
Yeah, 180 Strand, 180 Quarter, and that's been slowly developed. It became an art space. It's now got kind of live work, places, shared work, amazing kind of conference and event facilities. It's just soft opening an unbelievable new hotel there as well. So that's been an interesting space. And it wasn't meanwhile land, but you've often seen that sort of meanwhile spaces becoming that. Abba Voyage was a meanwhile site, just further down here. The Outset is another interesting one. It started off life, almost wanting to rival Piccadilly Circus and the kind of advertising there. So it started off as a bit of a billboard. It's got an amazing LED screen, but it's got a mixed venue in the basement. It took a little bit of time, though, almost because it was too complex for brands and businesses to work out how to activate something in there. But they've really hit their stride now, and it's an unbelievable space, helped by huge footfall from Tottenham Court Road Tube. And yeah, going back to here, this is a space that was designed for one reason and has adapted and molded into something.
So Here East is a great example of that. It started as at the Olympic Broadcast Centre. It's now this amazing innovation centre. How do you go about changing a building once it's already up? This didn't happen at design level. No, I think it is harder, but I think that's a reality, and it can't just be all new builds the whole time. So it is this ability to reconfigure and retool. I think there was a brilliant remit for Here East and the Olympic legacy in general. We did think about the legacy up front in a major way. So I wasn't intimately involved in the plans here, but it felt like, or it feels like, there was a modularity and a sort of flexibility built in at the design level that wasn't all the way thought through in terms of, okay, is it going to become an innovation hub, or what is it going to become later? That's been through brilliant work from the team sort of pushing it on and developing, but it felt like there was a flexibility inherent in the design up front, which I think is pretty hard if it's really rigid, and there really is. You have to do some serious kind of reconstruction to kind of accommodate. But it felt like there was this great kind of foundational flexibility in, but then not easy. It could easily not have developed the way it has. It's got some amazing anchor businesses or anchor partners, whether it be university or some innovation partners that are in here doing that. And I think it's testament to the team that they've curated that real mix of sort of strong anchor tenants that bring people, because again, it's got to be lively, it's got to be thriving. If you're going to have an innovation hub, it's got to be who is it for? And I think that was really defined well up front to go, who do we want here? What's it going to be about? It's got to be sort of young and thriving and lively, and we've got amazing kind of hospitality and fun leisure activities to be done really close by. So it had a lot of good pieces of the puzzle, but well fitted together, and I think helped by a sort of inherent kind of modularity built into the design. And finally, Alex, what's next for you and for your company?
Well, the real hope, Interval is very new. We are confident that there's this opportunity in the market, or this need, to really double down on experience design up front and bring together much further in the process a consideration of technology and content and spatial design and experience design. So it's a real mode of finding those interesting companies and interesting opportunities and developments across the sector, from sports and tourism and culture, to look at all of those. And the good thing is we've got a couple of projects already underway. There's a research study that we're doing, which is really exciting, looking at the future of cultural infrastructure. And so looking at using the total experience design model, and mapping that onto cultural infrastructure for now and 2040. So that will be interviewing a lot of really amazing thought leaders from around the world, but also in the UK as well, and asking them a series of questions about sort of through that lens of what's working, what's not. I mean, obviously, just right here we've got amazing innovation on the doorstep from V&A East, V&A Storehouse, absolute kind of world-class institutions that have rethought and relooked at cultural infrastructure. So be pulling in that knowledge, but also building up a really robust study and research practice that hopefully shows exactly what we've been talking about in great detail. So that's a 3-month project that's kicking off right now, which we're really excited about.
Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.